Woman veteran asks Trump for a job at live press conference. What he does next changes everything. She stood before the most powerful man in the world, a decorated veteran with nothing left to lose, and asked a question that would change her life forever. But nobody could have predicted his answer. The White House press briefing room was a maelstrom of controlled chaos. The air crackled with the restless energy of 100 journalists, each vying for their chance to interrogate the president. Flashes popped incessantly, their brief, bright illuminations momentarily blinding, accompanied by the rhythmic clicking of camera shutters, a percussive undercurrent to the murmurs of the assembled reporters. On stage, the sitting president stood behind the podium, his expression a carefully cultivated mask of stoicism, fielding questions with the practiced ease of a seasoned politician. Each query was a potential landmine, each answer scrutinized for the slightest hint of a misstep, a gaffe that could ignite a firestorm of controversy. The questions were relentless, touching upon the most pressing issues facing the nation, the weight of his office evident in every furrow of his brow. Amidst this tense atmosphere, a woman began to navigate through the throng of reporters. She was slender yet possessed a wiry strength, her short brown hair framing a face etched with determination. Her eyes, a clear, unwavering hazel, held both the pride of a soldier and the weariness of someone grappling with the often unseen battles of civilian life after years of military service. This was Danielle Carter, a veteran who had dedicated 12 years of her life to the United States Armed Forces. As her turn approached, Danielle drew a deep breath, her chest rising and falling beneath her neatly pressed blouse. When the moment arrived, she stepped forward, her voice ringing out with a clarity that cut through the ambient noise. "Mr. President," she began, her tone respectful but firm, "my name is Danielle Carter, and I am a veteran. I served this country for 12 years, dedicating my youth to its defense. But now, back in civilian life, I find myself unable to secure employment, unable to provide for myself. I've submitted countless applications, faced countless rejections, and I know I'm not alone. Many of my fellow veterans are facing the same struggle. Mr. President, what will you do to help veterans like me, those of us who have served and are now struggling to find our place?" Danielle's question hung in the air, a stark and unexpected counterpoint to the usual political sparring. The room fell silent, the cacophony of the press corps abruptly extinguished. All eyes turned to Danielle and the president, a palpable tension filling the space. It was the kind of silence so profound you could almost hear the blood rushing in your ears, the frantic scribbling of notes momentarily forgotten. It was a silence heavy with anticipation, with the weight of unspoken anxieties and the hopes of a forgotten demographic. It felt like an eternity passed in those few seconds. This silence was more than just the absence of noise. It was the presence of a profound, shared moment of reflection. The weight of Danielle's words settled upon the room, heavy and undeniable. It was a question that resonated far beyond the walls of the briefing room, echoing the struggles of countless veterans across the country. The sitting president, to his credit, did not flinch. He held Danielle's gaze, his expression unreadable for a fleeting moment, before softening into something akin to empathy. Unlike the carefully crafted responses he typically offered, his demeanor shifted, revealing a flicker of genuine concern. This was a departure from the political theater, a moment of raw, human connection. He listened intently, absorbing the full weight of her words, the years of service, and the current struggle they represented. After Danielle finished, a hush fell over the room. Instead of immediately launching into a prepared statement, the president did something utterly unexpected. He gestured for Danielle to join him on stage. An unprecedented move. It was a breach of protocol, a deviation from the meticulously orchestrated dance between the press and the presidency. Security personnel, momentarily stunned, hesitated before complying, their movements betraying their surprise. Danielle, though visibly taken aback, ascended the steps, her boots echoing on the polished floor, and took her place beside the most powerful man in the world. The room held its collective breath. On social media, Danielle Carter and the president immediately began trending, the digital world ablaze with speculation and commentary. Public opinion fractured along predictable lines. There were those who lauded the move as a compassionate gesture, a genuine attempt to address a critical issue. Others remained skeptical, dismissing it as a calculated political maneuver, a cynical ploy for public favor. A few voices were outright critical, questioning Danielle's qualifications for such a prominent, albeit symbolic, position. The murmurs started again, this time hushed, almost reverent. This was unscripted, unplanned, and utterly captivating. No one knew what would happen next. It was in that moment, standing on the stage bathed in the glow of the spotlights, that Danielle's life, and potentially the lives of many others, irrevocably changed. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the potential for something truly significant to occur. "Tell us your story, Danielle," the president said, his voice surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to his usual commanding tone. The usual hardened edge was gone, replaced by a warmth that surprised even his most ardent critics. Standing before a sea of faces, both in the room and through the lenses of cameras broadcasting the event live to millions, Danielle began to share her journey. She spoke of her time in the military, of the sacrifices she and her comrades had made, the bonds forged in the crucible of shared hardship. She painted a vivid picture of the silent battles fought on foreign soil, of the physical and emotional scars that lingered long after the uniforms were put away. She spoke of the jarring transition back to civilian life, the feeling of displacement, the struggle to find a sense of purpose and belonging in a world that often felt alien and indifferent. She spoke of the closed doors, the polite rejections, the soul-crushing weight of unemployment, and the gnawing fear of an uncertain future. Her voice, though trembling slightly at first, grew stronger with each word, resonating with raw emotion, painting a poignant picture of the challenges faced by countless veterans. Many in the room found themselves unexpectedly moved, some even wiping away tears. She wasn't just telling her story, she was giving voice to the voiceless, articulating the struggles of a community often overlooked and underserved. She spoke of the difficulty in translating military skills to the civilian workforce, the lack of understanding from employers, and the pervasive feeling of being forgotten by the very nation they had sworn to protect. Her words were a powerful indictment of a system that often failed those who had given so much. When Danielle concluded her story, a profound silence descended upon the room once more. The sitting president, his eyes reflecting a newfound resolve, addressed the room, his voice ringing with conviction. "Danielle, your service to this country is deeply appreciated. Your story is a powerful testament to the challenges faced by far too many of our veterans. And I assure you, we will not leave them behind." Then, in a move that stunned everyone present, he made a bold proposition. "Danielle, I want you to join my team. I want you to help me develop real, tangible solutions to support our veterans. I want you to help me ensure that they have access to job opportunities, quality health care, and the respect they rightfully deserve." The room erupted. A cacophony of gasps, applause, and excited chatter filled the air. Reporters scrambled to capture the moment, the clicking of cameras reaching a fever pitch. Danielle stood frozen, momentarily speechless, her mind struggling to process the enormity of the offer. After a moment of stunned silence, she met the president's gaze, her eyes shining with a mixture of disbelief and determination, and nodded her acceptance. It was a decision made in an instant, yet it felt like the culmination of a lifetime of service and struggle. The president's decision sent shockwaves through the nation. The media, both traditional and social, exploded with reactions. News outlets ran the story as their top headline. Pundits debated the implications of the move. Online forums were flooded with comments, ranging from high praise to outright derision and skepticism. It was a polarizing move, a lightning rod for public discourse, sparking a national conversation about the treatment of veterans and the role of government in their lives. The days following the press conference were a whirlwind for Danielle. She was thrust into the national spotlight, her life dissected and debated by pundits and the public alike. She went from relative anonymity to being one of the most talked-about figures in the country. Congratulatory messages poured in, but so did a torrent of criticism and doubt. Some questioned her qualifications, arguing that she was merely a pawn in a political game. Others attacked her military record, attempting to undermine her credibility. The sheer volume of attention was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the quiet struggles she had faced just days before. Despite the negativity, Danielle remained steadfast. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she was determined to make a difference. She had been given a platform, a voice, and she intended to use them to the fullest. She immersed herself in her new role, working tirelessly to understand the complexities of the issues facing veterans. She met with veterans organizations, government officials, and policy experts, absorbing information like a sponge, determined to learn everything she could to be an effective advocate. She spent countless hours listening to the stories of individual veterans, their struggles, their hopes, and their dreams. Her days were long and demanding, filled with meetings, briefings, and public appearances. She navigated the treacherous waters of Washington, D.C., learning to speak the language of politics while staying true to her core values. She quickly realized that creating real change would require more than just good intentions. It would require navigating a complex web of bureaucracy, competing interests, and political agendas. She learned to build coalitions, to compromise when necessary, and to stand her ground when it mattered most. It was a steep learning curve, but she was a quick study, driven by a deep sense of purpose. Danielle refused to be confined to the sterile environment of government offices. She insisted on connecting with veterans on the ground, in their communities. She traveled across the country, visiting VA hospitals, homeless shelters, and job training centers. She listened to veterans from all walks of life, from different branches of the military, and from different eras of service. She heard stories of resilience and despair, of hope and disillusionment. These encounters were often emotionally draining, but they fueled her determination to create meaningful change. She became a familiar face in veteran communities, earning their trust and respect. She worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the government and the people it was meant to serve. She organized town hall meetings, bringing together veterans, policymakers, and community leaders to discuss solutions to the challenges faced by those who had served. She collaborated with businesses to create job opportunities for veterans, highlighting their unique skills and experience. She partnered with nonprofit organizations to expand access to mental health services, recognizing the invisible wounds that many veterans carried. Danielle's approach was not without its critics. Some accused her of being too idealistic, of not understanding the realities of the political process. Others claimed she was overstepping her bounds, encroaching on the territory of established veterans organizations. But Danielle pressed on, undeterred by the naysayers. She knew that real change required bold action, and she was not afraid to challenge the status quo. She was a force of nature, driven by a deep-seated belief in the power of collective action and the importance of giving back to those who had sacrificed so much. Months of relentless effort culminated in a landmark legislative victory. Working closely with a bipartisan group of lawmakers, Danielle helped craft a comprehensive bill designed to address the most pressing needs of veterans. The proposed legislation, dubbed the Valor Act, included provisions for expanded job training programs, increased funding for mental health services, and improved access to affordable housing for veterans. It was a sweeping piece of legislation, ambitious in its scope and far-reaching in its potential impact. The bill faced fierce opposition from some quarters. Fiscal conservatives balked at the cost, while others argued that it was not the government's role to provide such extensive support. Lobbyists from various industries attempted to water down the bill, seeking to protect their own interests. The legislative process was arduous, filled with tense negotiations, heated debates, and last-minute compromises. Danielle played a pivotal role in shepherding the bill through Congress. She testified before committees, sharing her personal story and the stories of countless other veterans. She met with lawmakers from both parties, appealing to their sense of patriotism and their duty to those who had served. She mobilized grassroots support, rallying veterans and their families to contact their elected officials and demand action. She used her platform to raise awareness, giving interviews to the media and using social media to keep the public informed and engaged. Finally, after months of intense effort, the Valor Act was passed by both houses of Congress and signed into law by the President. It was a historic moment, a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of giving a voice to the voiceless. The signing ceremony was held in the Rose Garden, a fitting tribute to the sacrifices made by those the bill aimed to help. Danielle stood proudly beside the president, surrounded by veterans and lawmakers who had championed the bill. It was a victory not just for her, but for the entire veteran community. The passage of the Valor Act marked a turning point in the lives of countless veterans. The new programs and resources it created began to have a tangible impact. Job training programs helped veterans acquire in-demand skills, opening doors to new career opportunities. Expanded access to mental health services provided much-needed support to those struggling with PTSD and other invisible wounds. Affordable housing initiatives helped to alleviate the burden of homelessness among veterans. The impact of Danielle's work extended far beyond the specific provisions of the Valor Act. She had helped to change the national conversation about veterans, raising awareness of their challenges and contributions. She had inspired a new generation of advocates to take up the cause, to fight for those who had fought for them. She became a symbol of hope, a reminder that one person can make a difference. Her story resonated with people from all walks of life, inspiring them to get involved, to volunteer their time, to donate to veterans organizations, and to advocate for policies that support those who have served. Danielle continued her work, tireless and unwavering in her commitment to veterans. She traveled the country, visiting communities impacted by the Valor Act, witnessing firsthand the positive changes it had brought about. She continued to listen to veterans, to learn from their experiences, and to advocate for their needs. She remained a powerful voice for change, a beacon of hope for those who had served and sacrificed for their country.